Okay, let's try that. Sorry about that, guys, just restarting. We had a lot of pixelation going on that I could not figure out how to solve. And it looks like we're clean to me. So, we'll carry on. Hopefully Dexter and Gary jump over here with me. Aha! There's Gary. Awesome. Pardon me. So, better? Clean? Woo! Victory! And here I was saying at the beginning of the last video that I was so excited that I was going to be conquering technology this year because I managed to get the stream up and going this morning. Apparently not. Sad face for me. But that's okay. That is totally okay. Hopefully Dexter joins us again. Okay, so cracking back on with this map. Oh, if it's resolution, you know way more about that kind of thing than I do, dear. I am so not a person who knows these things. You know that. That's just odd and I don't understand it at all. Anyway, so these are the thing that kind of generally keeps people from traveling west, as one might imagine. So I want them to be kind of like the Canadian Rockies in that you can get through them. It's just going to take you time and effort. A lot of the Canadian Rockies were mapped and surveyed by people on horseback. So that may be a consideration in this world, having some kind of pack animal. I know that they're also an ecological range for two of the non-human races that are in the books. So that's also a consideration. I know that the one lives under the mountains, and they're kind of my Dragon Forge people. And the other ones live on the top of the mountains, and they're my cat people, based on like links and what have you. So I imagine as long as you're not running into them, then, you know, it's a thing. Yeah, right? I'm not gonna rip off Tolkien. I feel like that's some kind of hubris. Hey, Myrna. You missed the first half because I was doing really well and then things got pixelated and I couldn't fix it. So we started again. I hear you on the adulting. You would be very proud of me. I brought the entire pot of coffee upstairs this morning because, yes, it's a thing I can do. Dave had to be at work for 5:30 this morning because they're running a range, so there was not a whole lot of great sleep for me, which is fine. We can't have it all, but I was very ready for coffee when I finally convinced myself to stop communing with my blankets. Yay, Eric! You are the hero of the people. I know a whole genre was born from ripping off Tolkien, Gary, and to some extent I am. As soon as there's elves involved, you're ripping off Tolkien. Although, to be fair, elves were a thing in folklore before Tolkien. They just tended to be assholes. I think everybody who is fixated on elves should have to read Terry Pratchett's Lord and Ladies. It's a wonderful representation of like a folklore style elf, and I'm a huge fan of the way that he approaches it. I think it just makes a tremendous amount of difference as to the getting over the oh it's beautiful and we must love it fairy tale stereotype, because I kind of get really annoyed by that. We're gonna move the camera for a second. There we go. Winning. Okay, so I have pens. I have mountains. So let's do it. Myrna, I was telling everybody before you got here about taking Justina's class with the Japanese washi paper and the tissue papers, and how I'm thinking about incorporating that possibly into a map. And I'm excited about that. I think it could be super cool. So, yeah. Thinking it might be fun. When does Pratchett introduce? The book that I'm thinking of, Dexter, is his Lords and Ladies, which is one of the books for the witches. You're in moving pictures. Yeah, you haven't gotten there yet. I think it's like, oh man, I can't remember. Have you read Weird Sisters, Dexter? Because it's definitely after Weird Sisters. Japanese paper store in Toronto, Myrna. That's exciting. We like paper stores. Yeah, okay, so it's definitely, I think it's like the third or fourth Witches book. But he also doesn't write them all together, right? So like you can get a Witches book and then get like a Guards book or whatever. So I love Pratchett. That is, he's a me. His writing style is something that I don't think anyone can really aim to emulate, but everyone should aspire to that level of epic. Yeah, it very well could be Dexter. I'd have to look up a book list, and I'm not prepared to do that right now. But yeah, he's super good at times. I love his work so much. I recently had the opportunity with Myrna to hear Neil Gaiman speak at the Edmonton Library Forward Thinking Speakers Series, I think is what it's called. And that was a gift and a joy. I'm really, really grateful that I was able to make the trip into the city for that because it was amazing. Yeah, I could see that being a thing, Dexter, for sure. I don't know that I've ever actively read his stuff for timing. I don't think like I've been paying attention to it, but I could see that being something that might be jarring if you're expecting something else. The only one that I didn't really ever get was Unseen Academicals, which is like one of the last of the Discworld books. I think I need to read it again because I wasn't in a super good place when I read it the first time. And I think that might have impacted my ability to take in the text, as it were. So, more mountain ranges. Tasty, tasty mountain ranges. I know that I could probably draw maps without mountains, but really, would they be any fun? Loan me your hardback of what, Gary? You Dexter, you're totally right. Oh yeah, Myrna. I'm pretty sure like forest bathing is a thing. Mountain bathing has to be a thing, right? I mean, it's a thing I need in my life. I know things are financially really tight for me right now, but I'm still hoping I can somehow pull off a trip to the mountains this summer. Pack a tent, go hide in the bush or something. No, I bought my own paper copy of Unseen Academicals, babe. It's on my bookshelf. I don't like reading hard copy because it just really rests. It's not my favorite thing at all. So you are correct there. I do not have it. And then we're moving down to Mount Hills down here. Yeah, right? That sounds awesome. I never ever get sick of going to the mountains. That's the thing that I could do forever. I would very cheerfully retire there. That would be no hardship for me at all. I would live in Jasper and never complain about the tourists even once. Yeah, I totally hear you, Myrna. Banff tourists are silly. I wonder if that's because, pardon me, Banff is the more developed site, and so you get a lot more of the people that are just, I don't know, entitled in a weird way. I feel like if you go to Jasper, you're kind of expecting there to be, bears on the loose and stuff like that, which because of the wildlife fences in Banff, you don't really get to the same extent. There was that lady, poor lady in Jasper a couple years ago who got run down by an elk for her groceries. She wasn't hurt or anything, but this elk was like determined to have her cucumbers, so that was a thing. Valemount is gorgeous. Dave and I went there for our anniversary a couple years ago, and I would have no problem living there either. There's a bit of a local kerfuffle going on in Valemount, though, because there's a First Nations band that has just had land seized so that a developer can put in a ski resort on their mountain. So, yeah, that's not the most exciting thing ever. Now that you snowboard, I can come share hotel rooms with you. That is the best news I've had today. Oh my god, am I pixelated again? I just looked up at my computer screen. Please don't be pixelated again. I want to be winning technology here, you guys. I don't want to not be. It's going to be a terrible deal. Back to smooth edges. Hooray! Okay, well, which is it? I'm getting conflicting reports here. Oh, there we go. Great. It's really surreal to kind of try to keep a track of what's displaying on my phone, which is right now, versus what's showing on my computer screen. Because I have that up in front of me too, so that I can actually see the chat as it rolls. Super glad I figured out that innovation. It's the Wi-Fi. Okay. Google Mesh system. Oh man, you just got technical on me. I got nothing, Myrna. Sorry, babe. You know me. I'm a Luddite. I don't internet. Or really anything. I feel like accomplished that I'm succeeding in a stream. So, apparently I have a giant crater right here, and I'm not sure why that is, but it's a thing. We will figure it out. If I got unlimited money to spend on map making tools, what would I buy? Right now, I would absolutely love to have a Cintiq 22 or 27-inch drawing surface. I am completely infatuated with the idea of starting to do digital art. I don't know if you know this, Dexter. Myrna and Gary do for sure. I have nerve damage and arthritis pretty significantly in both my hands. And so drawing, it's the thing I love, and I will do it until I die for sure. but too much of it at a stretch is actually fairly painful. And the thing about working digitally that I think, I haven't done a lot of it so I don't know it for sure, is that it would make the revision process a lot easier because you have options for undoing and redoing steps that I just don't have working in traditional media. Spudgun, darling, how are you? A bigger house, I hear that. I hear that. Sorry about the cough, guys. I have a little studio in one of the spare rooms in our queue. We kind of had to compromise when we got here because Dave's a video gamer and a woodworker, so he gets the basement for his wood shop and then the living room because that's the only place in our house that his giant TV will fit. So I get the spare bedroom, and it's the weirdest shape, you guys. Like, it's just such a strange shape. I don't know how you'd ever actually put bedroom furniture in here. So it works fairly well for my office. I found a system that kind of makes it make a little bit of sense. But yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. All right. So we know that there's these mountain chains. I have no idea how realistic they are or not. And that's okay. I'll ask in my map group and people will tell me if I'm right or I'm wrong. And I'm comfortable with that because asking people who know better than you is how we get further in life. So that's super cool. Reference map, where art thou? So I've got a couple significant bodies of water that I should probably pencil in here before I forget about them completely. This is a lake. Put that up there. There is a river that comes from here that flows off those mountains. There is a river that comes down to this bay and splits into a delta that comes this way. A couple of little branches off of that. And there was kind of a weird wonky one that went over this way. Again, not sure how realistic that is, but we're going with it. One over here, one over there. And then there was another river, came around this way. And there was another lake over here. It's kind of a weird shape. Went like that. And it had a river that went through the mountains this way and kind of disappeared off my known map, so we'll have to figure that out. And it had a channel that came south to here. And then this one had another feeding point that went also down to the coast, but in a more roundabout way. And ended up here. Oh, wait a second. It ended over here. That doesn't make any sense. No, lies. Eraser? I don't know where my good eraser is. I wonder if it's downstairs. So we had game last night. Sorry guys, I'm just muttering to myself. We had game last night, and I did a lot of work on terrain this time for our Entmoot, and it looked beautiful. I was very, very stoked about that. So I was really proud, and that was a lot of fun. I made a modular kind of, maybe we'll move this lake over here because I like the idea of having it kind of in the valley. A giant lake. Doo doo doo. And then we'll give it a river. But yeah, it went super well. I made a waterfall that I'm incredibly proud of. That's modular, so we'll be able to use it again, which is awesome. Pardon me. There is a giant lake on this island. There is a giant lake on this island. Oh, wrong island. This island. And then there were significant rivers here and here. Yeah, there's gonna be a pile of stuff in between the mountains for sure. This is just all new area. Like, I haven't envisioned this at all. I was saying at the very beginning of the last stream, I don't know if you were here or not, Dexter, that like my original map ends right here. It goes this way. And I want to set my current campaign setting somewhere over here. So I'm trying to envision what's over on this side. I have a general idea from the map block that I showed you guys, but I don't have the specifics. So I'm thinking that this is going to be really, really fertile, tons and tons of trees, loads of rivers, loads of lakes. I know that it's drier on this side, simply because I do know that my currents move in a westerly direction over here. So a lot of this is going to be wetter, and then this is going to be kind of in the middle with the rainfall, and then this is going to be the rain shadow, right? So it's going to be drier to this side of my map. I also know for narrative reasons that there is a giant desert kind of off the map on this side. So yeah, I need to have a transition through geography that makes sense in that regard. Yeah, I really dig that there's more than one person from my mapping group here right now. I'm going to start writing down people's names in connection to their YouTube handles because I feel really, really silly calling you guys by your YouTube handles, especially Brian's, because like everyone else kind of has their name in it, but it's a thing. Look at me making notes. Yay, notes. Don't be sorry. We don't listen to a lot of music at our D&D sessions because we have people who Skype in from other cities. So it becomes problematic to have too much more sound going on because we're trying to hear them, they're trying to hear us, and it's getting to be a fairly large party. So wanting to deal with making sure everybody can hear everything because we talk over each other all the damn time. It's a thing. It's a terrible habit to be in. I don't recommend it to anyone. Where did my 0.5 go? There it is. So yeah, let's put these rivers and lakes in here. Well, I appreciate that you're willing to let me call you Spud Gun Brian, but I will do my best to try and remember. I have a really unusual name. I started using Shay when I was in grade 6 to try and compensate for the fact that it was such a strange name. And so I'm pretty sensitive to people calling other people by a name they don't prefer or that isn't quite correct. I just never want to be in that position where I'm making someone else feeling terrible. But if you don't mind being called Spud, then I'm unlikely to be making you feel terrible then, am I? So that's a good thing. I listen to a lot of music pretty much all the rest of my life. Like, there's pretty much always something going on. It's a little bit strange to do the live streams without music. I just have no idea how that works in terms of like copyright and stuff like that. I don't want to step on any toes. So we will not step on toes. Because that's just better. Yeah, Shay is the correct spelling. It's supposed to be written like the Gaelic Sean, so S-E-A. But English-speaking people call me C. So I put the H in there. And now I get a lot of Shia, but whatever. I'll take it. It's not the worst thing that could happen. It's pronounced Shay. Yeah, that's okay. That's not a thing I'm mad about. Irish spelling is bonkers. Like, that's a thing. And yeah, to be fair, you've only ever read my name, and it's something that happens a lot because most people aren't familiar with the conventions of Irish, which is legitimate because it's not something that we all encounter very often, right? So I don't know how we got to Ethiopian expats. There's something in the chat that I missed. Do I have Irish roots? Sort of. My biological father's family is from up in that general area. He's a mix of Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. And so when I was choosing a use name, I was looking for names that I was comfortable with that were fairly close to my birth names and arrived on this and I like it. Like it works for me. I've been using Shay since I was in grade six. I basically just came home from school one day and was like, "Hi guys, you can call me Shay now." And pretty much everybody went with it, which blew my mind. With the exception of my dad, it took him quite a while to get on board. And his parents, who still call me by my birth name, which makes me a little bit crazy. But, you know, what are you going to do? I had a girlfriend whose last name was Robert, and not Roberts, which is the far more common side of things. And it used to drive her really, really up the wall that people would add that extra S all the time, too. So I hear you, Dexter. I didn't know that it also was used as a first name, though, for you. My first name is Shalyn, which is horrifically girly, and I don't like it. Um, yeah, I could see your last name getting pluralized a lot, Gary. Like Jeff Bridges kind of thing. No, my grandparents are pretty stubborn. Um, yeah, yeah. Families, right? They can be a complicated deal. Okay, I follow. One of my doctors is a Wessels for a last name, but he's definitely pluralized. He's from South Africa, though. So I don't know if that's a naming convention that's different if you're in South Africa or not, perhaps. You're welcome to stay and hang out. I mean, I'm going to encourage you to run too, because healthiness is important. I'm back to lifting again tomorrow. We couldn't go this morning because Dave's at the range running that thing, but oh man, my body was like, "Excuse me? What do you mean you're picking things up and putting them down again?" We can all go exercise after. I'll go for a walk if you guys go for a walk. Should I change the time of these? Like, is there a better time for all of us? Because I do like. Hey, Paulo, welcome back. See, Paulo was the smart one and did go for a walk. The rest of us are just talking about it. It is a big world now, Paulo. Trying to fill in the water systems that are hanging out in the mountain valleys. It's true. Doggos are important. Saxon has been barking at a whole lot of nothing the last little while. I seriously don't know what's up with this. This is that giant inland lake we decided on. Hello, inland lake. You are enormous. And then another little river happening down here. Yeah. I don't mind working on the weekend if people are around, though. Like, it's more fun when there's people here. And because my time is so flexible, I can choose what I'm up to at any given point. So, like, working on the weekend isn't a super bad thing. I could do Saturday nights, honestly, because Dave goes to Pathfinder on Saturday nights. So I'm at home by myself anyway. It's just a thing where it's Saturday night. Usually people have plans on a Saturday night. So that is its own issue. All right. Let's put some foothills in here. Not artsy people. Nope. We stay home. It's a thing. Well, it's because inside is unpopulated because all of the non-artsy people have gone out on Saturday night. Dave invited me to start playing in the Padres Pathfinder game, and I think he wants someone who's going to be another good player because a lot of the players that are there are pretty flaky. Like, the Padres game is a drop-in, drop-out game, so that's going to be the thing. But I went to one and just really didn't like the vibe of the group. It's a lot of new players, and they don't take the game very seriously, and they aren't prepared to play. Like, they don't know their character, they don't know what their character can do. Even just knowing who your character's personality is and what they would and wouldn't do as a person makes a huge difference to how it gets played. And these people don't have that skill yet, and that can be really, really aggravating to play with because I'm someone where the narrative is really important to me. So knowing who your characters are and what they do, why they do it, can really make or break a game. So that just wasn't the best place for me to hang my role-playing hat, per se. Oh, there was a river up here that I forgot. Let's put it in now. I feel bad, though, because, like, I think Steve would benefit from... That's the Padre. Would benefit from having another serious player, too, but I don't feel like that's a sacrifice I can make. Because my Saturday nights are important. I could be working. Dog hats. What did I miss? RPG. Okay, there we go. Oh my god, outside world? What? Alright, well, that's good. I'm glad things are going well with her, Dexter. That's really exciting. Myrna, 2 random side notes. I bought this amazing tool for making circles. Yes, I like circles. Circles are great. And Penny Arcade has a reality TV show. What? Is that Acquisitions Incorporated? Or is that the other guys? You know how much I'm not a TV person, so please correct me because I'm not up on these things. Paulo, I hear you. Autocorrect is absolutely awful. Oh, interesting. I'll have to look that up, Myrna. I've been watching a lot of Matt Colville lately because he's been putting out more videos now that the new studio is up and running. And I really enjoy his stuff. He's got a series on running D&D where he talks kind of about the philosophy of running the game and some of the mechanics and stuff like that. And I enjoy his philosophical outlook on the game. He's a writer, he's a novelist, and he's done video game development. I think it was for Turtle Rock Studios, so he knows what he's talking about, and I like that too. Yeah, Matt Colville, he's pretty awesome. Please, yeah, put me a link on YouTube, Murder. That would be awesome. Yeah, Brian, if you've never seen his stuff, he's interesting. He can be a bit of an acquired taste. He's pretty unapologetic. He's not rude or anything. He just is very firm in his convictions, and they don't always match a lot of what I think of as younger generation gamers. But he's also been playing for the better part of 30 years. So he's seen editions come and go. He's seen all kinds of things. He loves 4th edition. So that's kind of a thing. He is awesome. I dig him. Gary, remind me, what's his position on the deck of many things? Because I kind of dig the deck of many things. I don't like how this one is laid out. I prefer to amend it for my own game. But that's a thing. What are we going to put in this crater, you guys? I'm like super fascinated by it now, and I didn't know it existed until we started drawing this mountain range. I feel like it needs to be super important. I gotta think about it. I don't have a good idea right now. When in doubt, draw. Can I zoom in on the crater? I can. It's gonna wiggle the camera a bit. Just because I have to take it out of the holder thing. Or can I just move the holder now? No, I have to take it out of the holder. Bear with me. Blair Witch map making. So, oh, rotate device. Don't give me that message. Alright. Can I just have my screen? YouTube? Good. I can't really see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is the crater. Right. This is a close-up of kind of the rest of the range. So piles and piles of lakes. Again, not sure if that is geographically accurate, but we're going with it. Yeah, right? The, okay, come on now. Can we make this happen again? One more time? Come on, camera. You can do it. No. Rotate. Like I want you to. Come on. There we go. Winning! There we are. Back. Woohoo! A barn fest for giants? Yeah, no problem, Dexter. Sorry it's so shaky. I use a stand that has a light on it to hold the camera so that I can have like my hands free and stuff. So I can always take it down and like show you guys. You just have to put up with the Blair Witch camera when it's gonna happen. Jacuzzi for giants. I don't know about that, Gary. Sorry, just reading your comment here. I think what he's advocating is characters having to deal with an unknowable world where things are not predictable. I think that there's a lot of people who expect a standard narrative storyline that goes through various progressions up to climaxes and then back down to fallow periods and up to climaxes, and each one kind of hits that crescendo as it's going up until you hit the denouement and then come back down. And I think what he's saying is that people shouldn't be complacent with the world. The world should have a sense of risk. It should be dangerous. It should be unknowable because otherwise your characters aren't reacting to the world. They're players who are pretending their way through a narrative. a good DM can take that and make it work, and players who are prepared to make it work can make it work. I think there's a lot of people who don't like to improvise, and if they feel that their character is being taken out of their control and out of their intention, that can make a player uncomfortable. And I think a good DM is responsive to knowing what player is going to be cool with it and what player is not. And I think if you have any doubt, you just don't do it because, like, why alienate your players? But I don't know. I like it. I think it's fun. I don't like all the negative stuff to it, though. Like, there's a lot of aspects to it that could be, I think, better served through other narrative devices. No, I hear you, Gary. I don't think you're wrong. I just have a different opinion about it than you do. That's what I mean about the deck itself being kind of problematic. Like, one that I played with, somebody pulled that they now have like a demon that's following them around trying to do them in. And we had to work out why and what kind of demon it was and, what were our options for dealing with it. And it became like a long running quiet nemesis in the background. Like we had to stay one step ahead of this thing. It curtailed what kind of magic we could use. And it really did force us into a lot more creative role playing because there was this other variable we had to account for. And I enjoyed that. The player enjoyed it. Like I said, though, not for everyone. So I hear it. Apollo, is that okay? I'm a nerd and it was game last night, so I have it on the brain. Thank you, Dexter. I appreciate that. I will make sure that I check that out once I'm off the stream today. Okay, cool. I realize that it's kind of boring for some people, Paulo, so I don't want to like leave anyone feeling left out or anything. Um, I, yeah, I've recently started running Dungeons and Dragons in second edition. My partner really likes to play 2E, and he's usually the one that runs for us. So over Christmas, as a gift, I decided that I would run a game for him. And so I'm having to learn a system that I have not really played at all, which is challenging. It's definitely a bit of a oh boy. But I write. I'm a writer. I'm working on a novel, and I have been for over a year. And I like the storytelling aspect of it. Like it's really cool for me to be able to, yeah, AD&D, Brian. It's really cool for me to be able to kind of test out some of the thoughts that I've been having for Halcyon, kind of in a role playing context and seeing what people do with it. Yeah, some of the games are really good. Like, have you played the Pathfinder Kingmaker version, Paulo? Because it's pretty great. Yeah, Brian, the Thaco horror is real. Like, oh my god, the Thaco horror. I've played a lot of 5e, so like to try and reverse engineer Thaco from 5e makes me nuts. Um, Dexter, I mostly started outlining it because I'm trying to think about what needs to be over here. I know that I need these mountains, and I know that the village that I need is roughly like right in here. It actually might be super cool to put it close to this crater and have them coming through the crater on their way west. I think that could be a good idea. So I just need to think about this a little bit more, and while I'm thinking, I'm just doodling because that's kind of how my brain works. Myrna, speaking of Christmas gifts, they're remaking Dune. Yeah, I've heard. Dave is incredibly excited. I'm trying to figure out if he will let me out of reading the book if I agree to go see the movie. Because we have tried to get me to read the book. I've tried 5 times. I get 50 pages further each time and put it down. And I've tried watching each of the movie versions that have come out, and not even Patrick Stewart could save that for me. And I love Patrick Stewart. Like, you know how much I love Patrick Stewart. I'm just not a science fiction person. I tried so hard. But it is Dave's favorite book. So I feel like I kind of owe it to him to read it. Although I think I'm going to tell him that he then has to read Anne of Green Gables to kind of make it up to me. Because that would be funny. Ungaro Crater, hey? Where's that located, Dexter? Yeah, Gary, I know. And I'm aware. You can have your grudges. That's fine. I'm sorry that it killed all of your interest in playing it. A gorgeous catastrophe. Man, I've seen the Star Wars Holiday Special. That was a gorgeous catastrophe. I just can't make myself deal with this Dune thing. Like, I'm really trying, but it's not working for me. On Kalimdor. I'm gonna have to do some Googling, I think, after the stream. Warcraft. Yeah, no, dude, I don't have any reference for Warcraft, sorry. I wish I did. I have a few people that play it, but I am not one of them. Yeah, I do have Google homework. I do. Lynch Dune. Hey, Paulo, which one is that? Like, who are the actors in there? This one is like super spiky. I don't know why it's so spiky, but it is spiky. Maybe it's important. Probably. Humans have a tendency to set aside the very weird and designate it as important. With Sting. Okay. I know which one you're talking about. I'm terrible for tracking like titles and producers and stuff, but if you give me actors, I'm better. I'm the kid who really didn't do anything television related in their childhood, so like there's entire decades of pop culture that I don't have any reference for. It makes Dave really annoyed because he'll like quote Simpsons at me or something, and I'll be like, I'm sorry, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. A lot of jokes go over my head for that reason. Okay, so I know I need a couple more mountains over here, so let's put those in. A longer kind of foothill system. I imagine that it would be better in the theater, perhaps. I also think, like, hear me out on this. I think it matters when you see it. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about Star Wars. I didn't see the original Star Wars until I was in my early 20s. And I had grown up hearing that as a child of the 80s, I was irresponsible for having never seen Star Wars growing up. And by the time I had to watch it, it was a grudge match. Like, I did not want to watch it. And people were like, you have to. It's a cultural vegetable. You need to eat it. And finally, I sat down and I watched them with a partner at the time. And I was like, honestly, this is terrible. Like, I don't know why this is so exciting for people. The special effects, the scripting, like everything, just I'd seen better. But it was really hard for me to kind of wrap my head around the fact that this had been cutting edge. This had been amazing for what it was at the time. And so I was over it. Like, I was just like, whatever. And hate me didn't start feeling invested in the Star Wars franchise until The Force Awakens. There were finally things going on in The Force Awakens that I felt I could relate to that were important to me, and it wasn't just another white man savior story like the previous Star Wars and the prequels had been. And so it was just like, okay, cool. This is kind of more fun for me. And I know that's not true for everyone, but it was for me. And it's like, oh, all right, neat. But like, it's still not a diehard franchise for me. Like, I'm not ride or die Star Wars fan. Star Trek, maybe. Give me the next generation or give me death. But yeah. So I was talking about how, like, I think if I had come to it as a child when it was this huge magical thing and it was a shared consciousness point for a lot of culture, a lot of people had seen it. It was very much like a collective consciousness kind of thing. I think it would be different. I think I'd have a different fondness and affection for it. I think I'd have a different level of investment. But as it stands, like I just don't have that because when I came to it, it was a very different personal and cultural moment for me. And I think that that's probably true of Dune as well. Like, I didn't grow up with the Dune books, I didn't grow up with the shows. And now that I'm starting to try and interact with them, they're old. Like, they're dated and they don't look the way that they used to. They're not as impressive as they once were. And I think that that has a bearing on it. I've tried reading the book a few times, and I think the reason that the book is driving me nuts is just because it's third person omniscient, and that is weird to read. Like, super weird to read. It's interesting, is also just very different. So my brain is kind of trying to square that up, I think, in a few different ways. I'll get there. I promised a friend of mine who has since passed away that I would read it, and it seems super important to do that now that she's gone, just as a way of honoring her memory. And I've also promised Dave that I will read it because it's one of his favorite books. So I will get there. It's just a matter of kind of when. Yeah, I hear you about the commercialization aspect of it, Myrna. I honestly do think we can blame Disney for that. Um, no, you can be a Dune nuisance all you want, Paulo. I don't know anything about it, so educate me. That is just fine. Um, but yeah, Myrna, I hear you. Because, like, part of the problem for me with Disney handling it is they're like, Star Wars, all the things. And I'm like, you're going to oversaturate your market. Like, people love it partly because of the nostalgia. Like, you have to respect the nostalgia because that's a huge part of it. And so just the oversaturation of the market, I think, is a problem. I think it disrespects the audience. Um, I think it also disrespects the story just because, like, they also whacked out a bunch of the canon in terms of the books and stuff. Dave was really mad about that. And I mean, I'm not a fan, but he is. And he's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, this is stuff that was all important and so much world building. He was really mad. I guess Luke had a wife, Mara Jade, and he's like, we're never going to meet her now. And he's like, she's my favorite character in our series, and we'll never meet her now. And I was like, oh, interesting. Um, you're not sure that Dune was ever cutting edge, Brian? That's fair. In terms of the films, yeah. Um, the book, yeah. No, I hear that. I can see how it would stick. Like, I understand that I understand a lot about the story. Like, I've thought about it, but I can see why it would stay with people. I just am having a hard time getting through the primary text, which is kind of how it is. You've hated Star Wars since the first film, and you hate when people refer to it as science fiction. Why with the science fiction designation, Paulo? I find that interesting because, like, it's a space opera for sure, but is a space opera not inherently a science fiction thing because space? Oh, space wizards. I follow. At least I think I follow. Am I kind of getting at what you guys are talking about? It's set in the past. Okay. But you can't have like past based science fiction? No, I guess you can't. See, this is what I mean by like it's so not my genre. I can't even answer these basic questions. To be fair, Carrie Fisher was gonna save herself. You just gave her enough time. She was gonna make shit happen. Sorry, I love Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher forever. Why do you think it would be a European thing specifically, Myrna? I'm super curious. Sorry, landed Canadian. I have no significant culture. Oh, it is camp. It's so campy. I think that was intentional. Or maybe that's an aging thing. I mean, again, I didn't see it until I was so much older, so it's hard for me to say that with any kind of help. That's fair, Myrna, totally. I've gotten over trying to give people good excuses. I'm just like, I don't. Sorry about it. Like, I don't know. As I get older, I care a lot less about having responses for that if I don't have one. I don't feel like I have to justify myself to too many people anymore. I say that only because I'm actually really proud of it. I've spent a lot of time feeling like I had to justify myself to a lot of people. So the fact that I feel like I don't have to is actually a massive improvement on the scale of life. What's camp? That's a really good question. Okay, well, thanks for that, Brian. Yeah, comedy that's cheesy on purpose. Yeah, very much the canteen scene. Very much the canteen scene. The archaeologist with the whip. Do you mean Indiana Jones, Dexter? God, I love listening to you guys talk. This is amazing. You guys are awesome. Sorry, every now and then I have to just look up and like watch the chat roll by. Dexter, are you spamming people? Well, as somebody who was totally shamed and mocked for not having seen it, I appreciate your restraint, Gary. I really don't see the point of shaming people over that kind of stuff. Like, there's so many other things that I would rather we properly shame people for if we have to use that as a social control mechanism. So it thinks you're a bot. That is fair. Oh, YouTube, why you gotta be so stubborn? VoIP would be great. So how do we do that? Is that like a Google Hangouts thing? Or is that like a Facebook group talk thing? Help me come up with solutions. Because, like, I think I would dig that. That would be great. Enjoy some soup, Paulo. Thanks for hanging out. It was nice to have you back. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Gary, why would you think of basketballs? I'm confused. I can stream live from Google Hangouts on YouTube. Oh man, can we figure it? Because that sounds bodacious. Oh, a void ball. That makes sense. Myrna, you are a genius, and I love that you know all the things. Still don't know what to do with this crater, you guys. This crater is gonna be like... Did everybody else have to go? Sometimes that's a thing. No, I'm here. At least I can see you guys on the chat. On my phone. My computer is doing something weird. Hello? Are we there? Okay, cool. You had me worried for a second. Awesome. Bye, Brian. Enjoy the rest of your day. I promise I'll go for a walk once we sign off. That will be the plan. That's a good plan. So maybe in 15 minutes we'll sign off. Because, like, we've been on this second stream for an hour already. So, let's do this for 15 more minutes and then everybody can go and get on with being an adult. Having a productive day. But I'll try to research the VoIP thing. Because that would be pretty fun. I would dig that. Yeah, geez, don't let your Smurfs explode just anywhere. Apparently they are really caustic and destroy things. Where was I going? Started going up, started going down. Yeah, it is kind of a curl of mountains. I'm not totally sure how or why, but it's where we ended up. That's part of the fun part of freehanding things, honestly, is you just are never quite sure what it is going to do. And that's the most useful part of it being a fantasy map, because otherwise you'd have to have a justification for why it's doing what it's doing. And that is not a thing I have. Not at all. It does feel like something big, right? Okay, so can I talk to you guys a little bit about the plot that I have going on in my head for this campaign that I'm using this map for? If by Smurf you mean dragon, then yes. Um, are people cool with that? Because, like, really, if you're not cool with me nerding out about it, then we don't have to. Or it may just be a Smurf forever because Gary has declared it. Why did the Smurf explode? Is that not like the why did the chicken cross the road? I mean, are we ever going to get a definitive answer about why the Smurf exploded? Why do I need your permission? Because I don't want to bore people. We were having a good conversation, and if all of a sudden I start dominating the conversation, we have a problem. That's just not how it works in my world, man. So what's going on right now is Paradise Valley is, let's say, roughly right here. Can we see that little spot? We sure can. What's going on is Roger and Arcus, who are Dave's and Charles's characters, are from a teeny tiny sleepy little village, like think the beginning of Beauty and the Beast. And three kids went missing. Three young teenagers went missing. They were known to be in a love triangle, and all of a sudden vanished, and nobody could find them. So, for whatever reason, Roger the blacksmith and Arcus the barber got tapped to go find them. Through a series of unfortunate events, they find the people murdered in a cave, and they stumble upon a combination of a smuggling ring, which looks like for humanoids, and a necromancer, because they have encountered animated bodies for the first time. And they have never encountered animated bodies before. It's a low low frequency, high impact magic world, so there's not a ton of magic in the day to day, but when you find it, it's pretty epic. So now they're going, oh my god, there's dead things that move, and they need to figure out what's causing the dead things. So up here ish, there's an empire of sort of elves. In my world, elves are like the Lord and Ladies elves from Pratchett that we were talking about in the earlier stream. The Riesh, which are my elves, are kind of more like the Grey elves from Spelljammer and from early. Because there needs to be a distinction. And so there's a group of people up here who, I don't know if anybody plays Magic the Gathering. If you play Magic the Gathering, think of combining green and black together. So they're not a race of necromancers, but they are a race of people that deal extensively with the cycle of life and death. Their culture is set up so that dying well is a benefit to the community. They live within a kind of magical symbiosis land where they're kind of in a symbiotic relationship where they take care of that particular creature land thing and it takes care of them. And they've had a couple of their people abducted that ended up down in this cave, which is nuts and like doesn't make any sense at all except that it does in the story. Blah 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 blah. In the creature that is controlling their symbiotic land thing is actually a dragon. They don't know that because they're forbidden to go underground. So the dragon is made of ashes. I don't know what the ashes are from yet. I think trees, because it explains more the life, death, foresty aspect of things that I want to include there. It might be neat if the dragon lives here. Anyway, that was a long way of saying basically nothing, and I have no idea if it made any sense at all. Okay, I'm glad Gary's following. Um, will Gargamel survive? Probably not. I mean, if Smurfs could explode, wouldn't he be like target number one? Well, of course, Azrael survives. He'd land on his feet. Things would be fine. Anyway, so what if the dragon lives there? Who knows? We will have to find out. I have like the entire cosmology for the city. I know like a lot of what their religion looks like. It's a very, very heavily ritualized society. So I have a lot of that developed. It's fun. It could be cool. Yeah, discuss all the things. It's black green. I love that Gargamel is now the hero, running around putting out Smurf fires. That's pretty fabulous. Okay, so the way that dragons work in this world, there are only like a dozen of them for the entire planet. They are kind of the manifestations of an elemental war that's going on off plane, where the planet is kind of the confluence point. It's the only place where people can directly fight. Think if you're familiar with D&D, the abyssal plane and the demon plane kind of having their thing out on planet Earth, or Faerun, or whichever. Because there aren't very many dragons, they're incredibly powerful, and you don't want them to be awake because they basically will destroy everything because they're hungry and need to eat, and they eat magic. So there's a series of ley lines throughout the planet which distribute magic. They happen where planar things overlap. Where ley lines happen, there's a higher incidence of magical creatures and elemental creatures. There aren't very many ley lines up here where these guys live, which is why they're such a ritualized society, because they're basically working on pulling magic out of the environment and funneling it down to this dragon. They don't know that that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. To keep it asleep, because it's like a bear and it requires a reserve of energy in order to stay in hibernation. As soon as that reserve goes away, it wakes up. We've had one dragon wake up down here already, and it destroyed a magic university because it needed to eat. And that was how one of my main characters ended up on the road, because her university had been completely wiped out by a thing everybody thought was mythical. So, yeah, not too many dragons, but neat, I think. The city that the black green city, in my head, is actually the entire city is made out of crematorium ash. In the culture of the city, when you die, you can kind of dictate what happens with your body. A lot of people will say that they want to go into the city walls and stuff like that. So a lot of their building materials are like resin and ash, to honor those wishes. Certain castes, like the warrior caste, may say that they want their bodies to go into weapons, things, fortifications, what have you. They don't have any metal because they don't believe in disturbing the ground. So there's no mining. So all of their weapons are much more like bone, wood, that kind of thing. They largely keep to themselves, so it's not like they've had to fight a war where they're losing to metal. That may eventually come in to bite them in the butt, but it hasn't yet. So we'll see eventually where that goes. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, the dragons awoke and something went awry, creator explained. Exactly. So I'm thinking that would be a good one. There was a nuke, like a magic nuke sort of, that went off in the middle of here at one point, which rewrote the coastline to the current form. It used to be over here somewhere. I have the map for that too. It's just not dug out. And then a bunch of these islands actually move. They're magically impregnated. So this one, where is it? This one, and these two actually move. They're creatures and they wander around. Humans don't know it because the islands move very, very slowly. But the Riesh, who live 750 to 1,000 years, they know it because sometimes they have to go looking for the island to get something from it. So yeah, anyway, that's me rambling about things. That's our 15 minutes, guys. So I am going to wrap up I'm gonna get myself another cup of coffee, have it, and then go for my walk like I promised. I am so grateful that you guys came to hang out today. This was amazing. Thank you so much. And I will try to research the VoIP thing. I'll figure out what I can, and I'll probably still live stream because it's helpful for people to have. Oh, wait, we can do that both. Haha, Myrna. Myrna's genius. So I don't have to worry about doing two things. We can just do one, and it will be great. All right, I'm going to run. You guys enjoy the rest of your days or nights, and thanks again for hanging out with me. Catch you later.